moment.
Okay, now we're live. Hey.
Oh, hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to another episode of AI Amigos show. My name is Marina, and as always, I'm here with my two good friends, Chao and James. Hi, guys. How are you?
Hey, everyone.
And as you can see, today I brought another very good friend of mine, Paul Fisher, who is a specialist in the area of PAM, Privileged Access Management. Paul, we are super happy to have you. How are you?
Well, thank you, Marina. It's great to see you. I haven't seen you for so long, and I haven't seen the other guys probably, I think, about 12 months ago in Berlin. So when you unfortunately were forced to accompany Marina.
We were.
Well, we had fun. It was actually super nice. Paul, how are you doing? I heard that you were in Berlin recently. How was it?
Yeah, I was at, I work at Copenhagen Coal, where you used to work, and we had our annual European Identity and Cloud Conference, as it's officially called. And it was the usual kind of thing. Lots of people talking identity, talking AI, talking non-human identity, which is something I'd like to talk about. It was a pretty good time.
And this is what we want to hear. We want to hear everything that you have to say, because I imagine after the session you have seen what is happening in the space. And our main question here, and I will throw the ball to the field, is how do you think that AI is impacting identity management? What do you see nowadays? What are you seeing in the companies? What are the changes? Because everyone says AI is touching different areas, but what is your point of view as a PAM specialist?
Well, now the thing is, there's kind of two answers to that. One is AI is obviously affecting it, and the other answer is, but not in the way perhaps you might think. So, like every other vendor and every other sector in IT and everything, PAM and identity vendors are talking about how AI is now helping them be much more effective by discovering stuff and doing automatic authentication and authorization and blah blah blah. To be honest, most of that is pretty load rubbish because they're probably using some sort of AI, as in like it's logging stuff and analyzing it like machine learning and stuff. But I think because they all have to say they're doing AI, like just before they one used to say they're into blockchain, or before that they're into something else. So the reality for me is actually that AI is affecting them from the kind of offensive side, I guess, more than anything. And we were talking a lot about machine identities and agentic AI and AI created identities. And I think that's where the real impact is coming. All of that is happening for sure.
Well, yes, with the agentic AI, I would say is the topic of the moment. A couple of months ago, it was LLMs. Now it is agents.
Yes, LLMs are dead. We now talk about agentic stuff.
Are they dead? Or they are behind the agents?
No, of course not. They're still helping. My own personal chat GPT is working overtime these days. So they're definitely not dead. But I think there is one of the dangers in, like, that, Marina, I was trying to do a bit of coding.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah. So this is a good example of why AI in the general sense is dangerous for access management, because I managed to build a little web server, right? So a functioning web server. Between me and the internet and ChatGPT, we built this web server, but I can't actually remember where I put it. So there is actually
it's somewhere on the web.
Can ChatGPT help you find it, Paul? I mean,
wow, I might have to go back to it, but because I tend to do these things, and you know, like kind of like my dad, you get into a hobby for about 3 weeks and then get bored of it, so move on to golf or something. So yeah, I created this web server, and then I realized, well, that's great, and it worked, but I don't actually know where it is, where it's sitting. It could be literally on my PC, or it could be on Kupinga Cole's server. so which I'm sure it's fairly useless, but the point is, people are doing that doing that for real, and they're building real applications, and they are putting them wherever they want. And I think, just to be serious for a minute, and I said this at the EIC, that we're going to see a tidal wave now of identities that are not human and are synthetically created, and the control. Most PAM and most IAM is just not built for this. It just isn't. You know, they might say that they're using AI to counteract AI, but really they're still very much using the tools of the past to deal with something which just we've never experienced before. So
Well,
plus, sorry, go on.
no. Well, I just wanted to mention something because it's really interesting what you just said. No, now when you talk to companies, most of them, they want to implement AI somehow. So then it's like, okay, I want to implement AI. What can I do? How can I do? I want to be, in the forefront of what is happening. AI is the future, but then, they will find these kind of contradictions, as you were saying, that okay, PAM is not actually built for it, or it's not prepared to receive the advances of AI on this. There is a lot of talking about, intrusion detection, monitoring, etc., that can be done with AI, but not entirely. And I think that is where the problem actually lies, because the agents are working on their own. So you go to sleep and the agent is working for you. But in this case, it cannot really be entirely like that.
Well, if you remember a few years ago, the company called Darktrace, and they made a big splash in cybersecurity because years before it became a thing, they said they use AI neural networks. Now there's another phrase that we don't hear anymore. Like neural, they were kind of cool about 10 years ago.
They're still
Well,
there.
I'm sure, but that's what I mean. It's like my dad, though. You know, these things. They're actually,
is that what you're saying?
some like, some people will have finished, building a wall or finished building that greenhouse, but my dad never did. But other people have done it. So you're right. Neural networks are still very much alive, but they were, again, vendors were saying, "Hey, we've got a neural network, and now we can detect 0 days, and we can detect stuff in real time that it's not been seen before, and so on." And without getting you sued, there was some doubt in the industry about the actual truth in that, whether this so-called neural network could actually discover viruses and malware that hadn't existed before and deal with it. But that's what the company was sold on. So yeah, go on.
No, so that's what they purported that they could do. But I mean, the thing about neural networks is that, like even in financial services, Marcus Lopez de Prado, who's wrote several books on this, where like the gold standard in financial services is for investing is like, what's your Sharpe ratio, basically means the higher risk you take, the higher risk, the higher the reward. And basically just retrain it to eventually get what you want. But when it goes to the real world, it just doesn't, it all just learn underlying patterns. But I mean, I guess you could say it's a hallucination, a version of it.
Well, I mean, the company still exists. I mean, tragically, the founder was killed in a yachting accident. But I don't, it obviously used some form of detection, which probably ITDR is now doing as well, and things like that. But what I meant was, they were kind of saying that they invented a machine kind of
Yeah.
thing that could do something from science fiction. And I'm sure, like you say, it was a bit more down to earth. Anyway, I've forgotten completely what I was talking about.
Well, so I would like to actually point something, because what you said, like they mentioned that they create a machine and stuff like that. I remember talking or having conversations a lot with Jean Chao when we were doing the masters, that at that time people were just dropping the classes of AI because it was actually hard. There was no ChatGPT at the moment that we started that.
Oh, it
We
was
need
easy. It was so easy.
we need to actually do this on our own. And then you realize that after the explosion of ChatGPT, there are many gurus, in terms of,
AI experts.
yeah, exactly, the AI experts, or they tell you, okay, you implement this kind of machine, and it's not actually real. It's not a machine. It's like maybe a software. They have like a good software developer, and then they implement some machine learning AI, and it's working. But as people don't really know the extension of it, they just go for that.
I mean, Amazon has been using AI for decades, but
Yeah.
it learns what you like to buy, and it makes recommendations. That's been around for ages. But what is happening though, I think, is that it's ChatGPT has enabled people to do stuff that they couldn't do. And you're right, there's all these experts now call themselves prompt engineers and things like that, which really irritates me as well, because the beauty of ChatGPT to me was its simplicity, that you could ask it one line question and it would come up with an answer. But for all these guys in our industry, oh no, it's got to be more complicated than that. You have to write like 15 pages of prompts
to see which one works better,
Yeah, to get the answer you want. Why don't you just say, what's the best hotel in Berlin or something?
And then they charge you by page. That's why they do that, Paul.
Yeah, because
there was a kind of a book that was circulating on LinkedIn. There was like learn how to design prompts in one day and learn it well. So then maybe they need that one,
I think I've got a book like that here somewhere. I bought a book on how to use ChatGPT, and it was basically rubbish.
But
yeah, I can't find it.
You paid for it, Paul. You paid for it.
I did. Well, I read it, but
well, if you paid for it, you might as well.
I think I've already recycled it. But yeah. But yeah, it was just basically saying, written by this guy, probably with ChatGPT,
probably
saying,
as well, yes.
Basically pointing out all the things that ChatGPT could do, and then it was like, and if you go to this link, here are some prompts, and I thought, well, that's anyway.
So, Paul, I wanted to ask you something, because you were at the conference that is, Identity and Cloud Conference.
Yeah.
Have you seen any interesting in the cloud environment? Because here we have the king of the skies with us, if you see the head of cloud. So, have you seen anything interesting?
Well, the one thing that's probably not so much technical, but there was a lot of talk around what Trump has basically done is to make people in Europe suddenly start looking around for their own local clouds, European-based cloud providers, of which there's not many, and that was a genuine topic of concern, that people say, well, how can we invested so much into AWS and Google and Amazon, but now we're worried that this data isn't safe. We're worried that a potentially hostile, I mean, I can't believe we're saying this, but a hostile government in the United States might use that data or will access that data. So that, I think, is making people...
Tell me they never did that before? I'm sorry. You're from the accent where I'm from. I know they were listening to Angela Merkel's calls at one stage or another, so...
Well, yeah, okay, I'm being a bit naive, but I think it is true that a business or organizations think, oh, maybe we should put some stuff in, I don't know, OVH or something, or, or even a cloud that is owned by an American cloud company, but is, locked down in Switzerland or something. So I don't know if you've heard anything like that.
No, but like I
No.
remember a couple of years back, right? This is the job they asked me to interview for. It's actually a Tencent or Alibaba, or I think Tencent Cloud. I think it's actually in Germany, the position, and then or Netherlands. I don't remember, but that's not the point. The point is that they just won a big contract, which is 2 or 3 years ago with BMW Group.
Mm-hmm.
So the BMW was actually in the Tencent cloud. So that was just something interesting. And I think those Alibaba, all those, they have their small market in Europe, but just not very well known.
Yeah, it's growing though. It's growing in Europe, and like I said, OVH, the French cloud, is suddenly getting some real traction because for a long time people thought, well, it's a French cloud that will stick.
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
It is not moving forward.
They kind of thought, well, maybe it's all in French. We can't use it. I don't know. But now people are saying, well, actually, that's quite good because it is completely French. It have no data centers anywhere other than in France or Europe and so on. So, but on the more kind of like identity and access and AI type of thing, I did a presentation about how privileged access management and cloud infrastructure entitlement management are starting to merge into basically one thing. So, and I predict that eventually KIM will become the sort of dominant thing in the industry, like it'll be the dominant term, because you can do privilege from KIM. And this is something that the traditional PAM players like CyberArk, Beyond Trust, Delinea, and Archon, all those guys kind of don't want you to know, or don't want you to realize that not all PAM needs to have vaults, doesn't need to have passwords, etc. And those companies that are doing KIM tend to be much more innovative, much more cloud native, much more focused on fast access.
I will interrupt you. So then you said, what are they implementing? Because I'm missing the word.
Which one? KIM?
Because you said KIM.
Yeah, cloud infrastructure entitlement management.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's just another stupid acronym. Yeah, but what it effectively means is that it's more of a, originally it was more of a, just literally like a management or an admin tool, so you could see what entitlements identities have or people have in cloud resources. But it's since moved into also doing authentication and authorization, so you can now actually use it to authenticate an identity to go to a cloud resource. And by the very the nature of that means that some of the things that you're going to be doing will be considered privileged, particularly in DevOps and engineering circles, because they always have to access maybe some credentials, maybe some code, maybe something all the time. So everybody's going to be privileged at some point, rather than having this select group of people or identities who have privileged accounts, standing accounts. That will disappear. And AI is going to really accelerate this, because how are you going to manage an identity that was created by another AI yesterday or just now?
An agent, and you get another agent, Paul.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
you got agents watching agents.
But that's kind of what it's going to be like because you'll
exactly
have agents will create agents, they'll look after other agents, they'll probably destroy agents. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be I don't. Like I keep saying,
Well,
I
it's
don't
kind
think
of scary,
I
you
don't think
know.
anyone's ready for this. I don't think they're ready for it at all.
But
And it's
when you
all your
say,
fault, all you AI people.
You're right. I blame Marina too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I know everyone tells me the same. You're contributing to the end of the planet, you know.
Why
Uh,
did you have to invent it?
but Paul, you know, so then it's very interesting what you were telling us because everyone is talking about the agents, and
Mm.
then what I have seen so far is that many people they believe that the agent is having, for example, many experts for language models, and what you are bringing to the table is something totally different. It's like, okay, the agents actually will have the capacity to create or to build other agents, to give access to, different people in the cloud, with privileged access, as you are mentioning. And this is fantastic. It is something that I believe that many people are missing, you know, when we talk about the agents and what is actually what it means, you know. Now, another thing that I want to mention here or to point is, you said that the point is that we have here data centers in Europe. And what I see in the startup world, you know, that I work in a startup accelerator, many startups, when they reach kind of certain maturity with their product, they said, we are planning to move either to Japan or to the US with our product, because here in Europe there are so many regulations, so we cannot really break into the market entirely, you know. And maybe they have clients that are based in Japan and in the US. So then for me it was like, and I asked them, okay, but what is the connection between Japan and the US, because they are in totally different regions. And then they said, well, so the regulation that they have around the AI, it's kind of similar. So then for us it's not really hard to actually comply with whatever we need in both regions. And this is what they are considering. And I am a bit worried about what will happen here in Europe, you know. um, how do you see the startups that are in the identity market?
How do I? Sorry.
How do you see the startups that are working in the identity market? Do you see that this one would be an issue, the AI regulation for them?
Yeah.
Is
Well,
people talking about this maybe in the events, or it is something that everyone pretends to,
well,
dementia, nothing happens?
um, all I know is that in my world, I rarely see a European startup in
Mm.
access management. I don't think there's any in cloud entitlement management. They're either US or mostly Israeli. Israel seems to create a new startup every week in identity security.
Really?
So yeah,
Well,
well,
I know that they are very advanced in AI, but I didn't know that they were so focused in identity.
yeah. But what happens is they tend to get then acquired by the bigger company. That's why they have to keep making new one, because they get acquired so quickly. I mean, Beyond Trust acquired a KIM provider just about this time. No, actually, in 2023, they acquired it and sort of gobbled it up, so they could say they had a KIM tool, which is another thing, which doesn't really work, because you have these existing players with their platform, and then they try and bolt on a completely different piece of software or engineering onto their platform, and then integrate it, and then say they have KIM. So that's what was I saying again?
Paul,
What
I
was the
think
question?
you need an AI agent here,
I do. I better hang on. I'll just get. They just said.
Hold on, is this Paul or is this his agent? We don't
Yeah,
I
know.
don't
maybe
know.
we never know. I remember last year we talked a lot. Well, there were so many people talking a lot about the centralized identity, which is something that was actually in the market for a while.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. That
but
was
it's
it.
true.
But
And
that was last year's EIC. Let's all talk about decentralized identity. That's the future. No one talked about it this year.
yeah. They forgot about
Well,
it. You know?
it's
wants
not
to
the
hear
future anymore.
Unless
You
it's
know,
had the word AI in it, nobody wants to hear about it.
yeah.
Exactly. So then I think that's actually the main problem now. You know, everything has to be AI related, even though it's not AI related. But if the title is AI, oh, good. You know, so then it's something like that.
Well, I never understood why decentralized identity was such a great idea. But anyway, because like the idea
Well,
was that you'd have these wallets full of data about you, and you could use it anywhere. But to me, that just seemed
but we
like
do this, right, with the Apple Pay and so on.
yeah, we do, but that's just a payment, isn't it? It doesn't allow you to get on an airplane or go to the hospital or go to the bank. So to me, it just seemed like the most dangerous thing in the world to have one identity that allows you to use everywhere. And also, there's about 300,000 different standards in Europe alone for how to make these things work and so on. But yeah, you're right. But this year, not a sausage about decentralized.
But I remember, you know, Jean Chao, James, and I, we had kind of conversations about what was happening in decentralized identity, and our question was why everyone is so excited about this. It actually existed before.
Yeah.
So why now? You know, why now it is kind of the hot topic?
Well, some countries have had it, like I think Estonia or one of the Baltic nations has had it for years. Germany has some kind of it, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know much about it. That's why I'm kind of, saying these ignorant things about it, but I still don't get it.
No, well, so you don't really have to know it if it is not your area. I mean,
Well, I'm a control freak. You see, that's why I like PAM, and I like the idea that you can see where identities are coming from, what they're doing, etc., and what it is. And that's why I'm so frightened of AI
and about
agents.
the agents, you know, when you
Yeah.
cannot really see what is happening behind
I
it.
mean, yeah, like James just said, do I exist? How do you know? I mean, this could be a very good. I think actually
we're going from a deterministic,
Yeah.
software to probabilistic, and that's the thing. Like you can ask ChatGPT the same question, and it'll give you different answers each time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I mean, this is definitely me. You can tell by this shambolic performance that I'm putting on.
We're going to need to ask you a question that only the real Paul would know.
Sure. Ask me something about Marina. That would be good.
Yeah.
Well,
And this is something like.
So you know, once.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, I think it was lagging. Go on, Shan. Go on.
Yeah, I was just thinking about what me and James was in the training about. Learn something about the AI system, right? It's not really like the traditional software. It's yes or no, kind of. You can code that way. It's kind of percentage curve, right? So using that to giving access to PAM or something, it's hard to. It's just not reliable because you're talking about the access. Either you have this or you don't have this. What if we give you halfway? Like you can't really troubleshooting. Why did you give me this?
You made people nervous when you said that. I could see it.
Yeah, and then you give him that, but you didn't give me this. So it's kind of hard to evaluate the system. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's not rules based. And you need rules when it comes to this kind of stuff.
I mean, that's where I don't. I mean, ChatGPT to me is purely a research tool, and I don't see unless you can use it to help you build stuff, but it's just taking what it knows and suggesting you use this code and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. I can't see there's much scope for that kind of AI to assist you in making decisions. But what the vendors will say is, but we can use this form of, it will build, a model, so it knows, it will keep updating the directory, keep updating the number of agents, and tell you where they're from and who they're, what is behind them, where they're coming from, and all that stuff. But that to me isn't the AI of AI, the AI, the thinking AI, the one that we're really scared about, that you guys are building in your lab. downstairs.
You know,
In the basement.
with James, we were actually trying to build agents, and we created agents and so on, and we tried to do this like in the laptop as well. So then the main problem that I see here is that now there are companies that they are selling the agents, right, in different areas. For example, I don't know, you have your agent for, let's say, finance, for marketing, for this, for that. So then you have like a different experts, but it doesn't mean that you don't need a person, so then like someone has to monitor it. Otherwise it's kind of okay, we trust, we as Sean just said recently, you cannot really rely 100% because there are some probabilities involved
Well,
in there.
that's what they call them, which I don't agree with the terminology, but human in the loop. I mean, the reason I don't agree with it is because it's like when someone's in the loop, they're just telling you that and here what we're saying is that you're actually saying, no, that's wrong, that needs to be changed, and this and that, So it's actually, maybe it's a human approval process, or there's some kind of level of human oversight that says, hey, there's something going wrong here. But I know, like, even like I've built trading algorithms, the speed of how fast it goes, and then when you realize something's wrong, to actually unwind that is very complex, and you have to know exactly what, and if you don't know exactly what you're getting, and how are you going to unwind something or undo something. And I can see where, as Paul's saying there, in this domain, is AI really the best use? So it could be used to assist, it could be used to help, but not to run on its own, because that could be disastrous.
Totally. Well, guys, we are reaching to the end of our episode. The time actually flies, I would say.
I haven't said anything yet.
But Paul, was amazing to have you. I really hope that you want to join us again in another time. We would love to
I'd love
have you
to.
again.
Yeah.
And to get to know what else is happening, especially like in the consulting research side, in terms of identity and AI. And James and Shan, thank you so much as always for being here. And I'm looking forward to meeting you next week.
What, me or them?
Well, for them,
Oh, you mean,
I really hope that we can actually meet sooner for a
She doesn't
virtual
mean in person, Paul. She's meaning in the next podcast.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
virtually meet you. Have a great night.
I'm only joking. It's been great. Thank you so much. Bye now.
Bye.